High Level is a full CRM and marketing platform, and I've used some of the best in the SaaS industry. And we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. We've got X, Twitch, Kick now, Instagram, and both of our guests LinkedIn as well. It's Revening's Wednesday. Welcome to Wednesday, Revenue Party people. We've got our hot topics and our hot guests we're going to get into here in just a moment. But first, I have to give a plug to a couple brands. And one of them being StreamYard. So we are streaming on StreamYard right now. And I like it because it allows us to go live on LinkedIn and all the channels I just named. And we can do that simultaneously. So we are live right now across social channels. And then, we can be creative in here. We can upload videos. I had that intro video playing, and it's really easy to use. It's just really drag and drop and click and, I'm not a engineer by any means, but I can use StreamYard, and it's been a really great tool to not only use for ourselves, but to also teach other people to use. So, it's great because it's a preferred LinkedIn vendor. That's another thing I will mention. But real quick, I know I'm talking a lot, and I want to make sure that you all are, involved in this conversation as well. So if you're tuning in on LinkedIn or any of the other channels, let us know that you're here by leaving a comment. And we want to hear from you. Where are you working? What do you do during the day? Because we're going to be talking about sales and marketing. And so we want to know who we're talking to and what it is you do as well. So drop your comments and we'll put them up on the screen, just like you saw come up here just a second ago. But yeah, I was just talking about StreamYard. I am an affiliate of StreamYard, and we help people go live on LinkedIn. Primarily, we help businesses go live on LinkedIn. But if you don't want help going live on LinkedIn and you don't want all the production help, the help finding guests, we make the intro video, all that stuff. So if you don't want that, you just want to go live on your own, scan this QR code and try out StreamYard, and you will not look back. Otherwise, let's get right into our topics for today. But before we do, let's introduce our guests. We've got Shampaigne and Chrissy. Welcome to the show. Shampaigne and Chrissy, we want to learn more about you. Thank you for being here on a Wednesday, and especially you, Chrissy. You jumped in last minute. One of our guests had a sick grandma, so we appreciate you just, being flexible and just moving with us on the fly. And Absolutely. With that, could you kick us off with our 2-minute clock and tell us your full life story from birth to what brought you to now?
All right. Talk about impromptu, huh? So I am an old school marketer as well, but I got started before Google was even around. So that's how long I've been in the game. But I really kicked it off by my twins. When they were 10, they went viral, and this was 17 years ago. And we all of a sudden started getting calls from ABC's 2020, Anderson Cooper, Inside Edition. And thankfully, I had already bought their domain names, firstnamelastname.com, because I've always known the personal brands were going to be important. But I knew, okay, we've got to harness this attention they're getting. And so I hired a team. and watched them do the press and the branding, and just thought after a year and a half, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and take it over. I do have a formal education in it. So that's what I did. I took it over. All the storytelling that we did and all the marketing we did ended up getting the attention of the Guinness World Record people, and they awarded my twins 2 Guinness Book Records for being the only set of twins like them in the whole world. And then it also garnered the attention of other media, such as People Magazine, reaching out to us. So then that just naturally grew to other people asking me, hey, can you do that for my brand? Can you do that for my brand? And here we are 17 years later.
Nice. I love that. That's a good story. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I like that you said you were marketing before Google. Who in the audience can say the same? I would like to know that. Raise your hand or let us know either way. You started after Google, and I started marketing. My first official marketing job was in 2015. So I started after Google. Yes, just went straight into SEO. But Champagne, we'd love to learn more about you before we get into our discussion as well. So could you please tell us your full life story from birth to what brought you to now?
Absolutely. So thanks so much for having me on. So my whole story started with $20 and a Facebook ad. I started back in 2018 with my first business, BOLDIFI, and that $20 was spent on an ad trying to attract women in business in the Dallas-Fort Worth area here in Texas. And our mission was to help women start and stay in business. We did that at the time through an e-commerce t-shirt line. I always say that the t-shirts were ugly, but the mission was beautiful. And so it has evolved now into an accredited micro school for women entrepreneurs. We are accredited through the QAHE. And in addition to that work, I'm also a women's consumer expert. I got into that work in 2022. And basically, I decode why women buy the things that they do. We control $31.8 trillion in global spending. We make 85% of household purchasing decisions. And so I always kind of wondered why the marketing industry wasn't speaking more to women and why their R&D budgets didn't show up for women the way that they did for men. So I'm really excited to dive into my work. And when we were having our pre-show a little bit, we talked a little bit about controversy. And so I know sometimes when I talk about women, why we buy, how we're socialized, that can be a little bit controversial, but I feel like we have a great audience here to discuss that.
Yes,
Champagne, I love that you're from Texas. Me too.
Awesome.
Texas in the house, and then Ohio here. We've got, we are well-rounded here on WinsDay, but let's get into our first topic, which is, I'm going to tell you here in just a moment, visibility, authority, and building a brand people trust. Chrissy, can you kick us off on this topic?
Absolutely. I love this brand. And like I said at the beginning, I've always known personal brands were going to be important. And right now, everyone is starting to see the importance of personal brands. But if you don't have that authority and you're not building that trust, it really doesn't matter. And so what I like to tell people is that they need to have that foundation first. So get that clarity. Make sure you know what your messaging is, who you serve, what your values are, what your audience's values are. Really architect that brand, and then that, especially the values part. And then make sure you have your systems in place so that once you start getting the visibility, you can handle what comes in. I've seen it sometimes where a company will start getting a lot of marketing, but their system wasn't ready to handle the leads that came in, and they've ended up shutting down because they just couldn't handle it and customers got mad. And then on the authority side of things, that's where being, and I know this word gets tossed around a lot, authentic comes into play. And I think that with AI coming more and more into the picture, we're going to start looking for the kind of imperfect moments that us humans experience and really connect with on a human level. So, we have a trust recession right now, whether it's an influencer that's faking that they like a product just so that they can sell it, which I personally think that the influencer marketing is changing a lot, or the influencer market's changing a lot. And the word influencer is going to be more applicable to the everyday person who actually influences their circle. And you need to build that authority and architect that brand before you try and get the visibility. Then you can start getting your attention.
Really the smart way to go about it. Before you go and just start tooting all the megaphones, it's good to have everything in place before you get all of the energy coming in. But of course,
I'll caveat that a little bit and say, don't get stuck on perfection. That's something where I'll see somebody say, oh, no, it's not ready yet. So make an educated decision, make it exist, then tweak, because the market will tell you what's working. Whenever we're working on messaging with clients, that's one of the things we say, don't get caught up so much so that you don't move forward. Make an educated decision that does align with your values, and then go for it. Like I said, the market will tell you if it's working or not.
It's true. A lot of people do get caught up in that. They want to be perfect. It's like you just got to ship it at a certain point. But what's your take on all this, Shampaigne?
Yeah, I absolutely love what you were saying about architecting your brand first. When I think about my journey and how I started with a community and an audience before I really had a product that I was proud to sell, honestly. And so a lot of the work that I did was about creating that authentic relationship with an audience, doing what they say nowadays is like building in public. So I was doing that back in 2018 with going live on Facebook, just showing people how I was building from the ground up with no money. And so I think that what really endeared my audience to me was me showing them the ugly parts of entrepreneurship, as far as like the ups and downs go, and how so much of it is a mindset game. And I know me personally, when I first started in PR, I was not ready. So I totally get what Chrissy is saying, in that when you aren't ready for that kind of visibility, it can actually hinder, not help you.
Absolutely. Yes. So much there to go into. But Chrissy, what's your take? And also, what's the actionable advice you would wrap this topic up with in terms of what can people do with visibility, authority, and building a brand that people trust?
Yeah, I would say that I love what you did, Shampaigne, by letting people see the messy middles. And that's the authenticity part. That's the not waiting until it's perfect. You made a decision and you went for it. And then you brought people in on your thought process, which is part of building trust. So an actionable takeaway would be, instead of talking at your audience, talk with them and show them your thought process as well.
Yes. Yeah. Show them your thought process. Yeah. Build in public. People want to know what your thought process was in your story. All right. Well, let's move into our second topic, which I have to admit is one I'm really looking forward to. How women actually make buying decisions. Shampaigne, can you kick us off?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm like, whoo, it's my turn. So, I love this topic. I love talking about how women make purchasing decisions. And through my research with women and why they buy the things that they do, I've been able to create a method called the Women's Consumer Research 4-Step Method. And it studies demographics, intersecting demographics, gender socialization, legacy consumerism, as well as emotions, and how all of those factors intersect when it comes to women and their purchasing decisions. I've also coined a couple of unique terms, one of them being purchase panic. And that is when imposter syndrome in women shows up at the checkout counter, meaning that we all inherit money scripts from the women that raised us and, our guardians, the people that were bringing us up. And with those money scripts, a lot of women have been taught to have a negative emotion and negative relationship with money and what it means in her life. And that's why we see a lot of the times things like girl math coming up, or women just saying things like, I'm just a girl. What they're really saying is that they don't have a great relationship with money. And so when I am doing the work that I'm doing, I'm really trying to figure out where those stories are coming from and how we can overcome those barriers and teach women a new story when it comes to money and when it comes to that purchasing decision. And so back to what I was saying before, we control 31.8 trillion in global spending, as well as 85% of household purchasing decisions. And just to intersect those stats with some context, that is applicable to both households with and without a male partner inside. And so whether there's a man there or not, there's women who are making these purchasing decisions, and they are not being spoken to when we're thinking about your corporate boardroom or writers' rooms, whatever the marketing kind of space looks like in corporate, because obviously I'm an entrepreneur. I haven't really been in that mindset in a long time. But when I'm thinking about those kinds of settings and places, what I really see often is in R&D rooms, there are people who are flooding millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars into research and developing avatars around men. However, when it comes to women, what they'll typically do is they'll take that same research, slap a pink bow on it, and say, here, this is for women. And so I really want to challenge people, especially marketeers, to understand women a little bit more and be more empathetic in the marketing process. Because a lot of the times what I'm seeing is that marketeers are trying to get women to change their mind, change their thought process, instead of understanding that process, coming alongside it, and then, providing a solution that fits within her lifestyle and validates that buying process, those money scripts that she's inherited already.
Yes, I love that. So good. And I know that there's women in the women wave who are listening and nodding to a lot of this. And I myself too, this is a I've been weird about money for a long time. But like women, we influence a lot of the buying decisions. You're so right. And um yeah, and yet again, I'm not just the one that's weird about it. A lot of us are weird about it. Not spending it, making it, asking for it, keeping it, talking about it without, really immediately feeling like you need to explain yourself. But yeah, I think it's such a hot button issue. What's your take on all this, Chrissy?
So I definitely love that she brought that up, which just goes into the deeper aspect, like what I mentioned earlier, always going deeper and really understanding the core values that your audience has. So you should know them so well that you are speaking to their values and not just their gender, not just their age, not just their location, but their values on top of all of those things. Are super important.
Yeah, that seems to be something that I hear from you over and over again is values, like values being so important. And I
Yeah, we're
really
driven by
appreciate
our
that.
values, whether subconsciously or not.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. So what more might you add about all of this champagne, and how do women, like, how do we How do we switch gears? How do we get in control of money? I mean, more women are making more money. So yeah, how would you answer
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So I think that what women can do is learn more and then also speak more with other women about money. I think it's such a taboo topic. And so I really encourage women to talk to their girlfriends about finances. And more so than that, talk about your relationship with money since childhood and how that is affecting you now as a woman. How has your stories that you've been told about your allowance growing up, how that was supposed to be spent? Don't spend it all in one place. Don't be selfish. Make sure that you are giving some to others. Especially when we think about little girls, we're definitely socialized that way into always thinking about others before oneself. And so when I really think about the meat and potatoes of things, it's just something where we're going to have to be more honest with each other and ourselves about money and the place it holds in our life, because money is not only needed, it is something that gives us it's a vehicle that gives us the things that we want. And when we think about women and what we're being sold right now, self-care is a huge thing that women are being sold right now. And that self-care requires money. It just truly does. And so a lot of women, especially, they feel as though money is something that's icky because it is the antithesis of the nurturing, the kindness they feel like women are socialized into believing. And so it sounds like this is all just like relationships and growing up and childhood stories, but it really does affect our money stories and what we tell ourselves about money.
Yeah. And, it's about becoming comfortable with power in many ways. And, because money, it gives women choices. And women with choices can change things. They can change their families, their businesses. They can change their communities. They can run for public office. They can change entire generations. And I don't want women to just be great at spending money. I want us to be great at, building legacies as well. Um, but
Well,
yeah, I don't
and I'll
know.
add too, if I will, in our defense, in America, we've only had about 50 years
Amen.
where we've been able to actually do stuff with money and land. So I'd say we're catching up really fast.
We've just been able to get credit cards like just a little bit since before Google, right?
But yeah, it was 50 years ago last year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And Google's what, like 30 years old? So
Yeah. And, going back to the values aspect, I know for me personally, it was my value of stewardship that was playing a part in my money story. And I was subconsciously afraid that if I had more money, that I might not be a good steward of it. And then that wouldn't be in integrity with myself. And so it was just a whole loop that my coach and I had to work through.
yeah, definitely. It's a whole thing. I want to hear from anyone else in the comments. I see Lauren's nodding along. But yeah, anyone else have these thoughts, these issues, their concerns? I want to hear your opinions on all of it. Drop it down below. We've got 2 more hot topics we're going to be getting into, but we're going to take a really brief break and hear from 2 short messages, and we'll be right back. At Reviting, we help B2B founders, executives, brands turn their live streaming into a real revenue channel. One live stream turns into a podcast. It turns into a social clip. It turns into email content like a newsletter and actual sales conversations. You get to have a lot of conversations with people when you have a podcast or a live stream like this. And if you want to be known, trusted, and remembered in your industry, without being online 24/7, worrying about your posting, This is what we do. Just head on over to reviting.com and let's build your show.
I want to give a quick testimonial for the Reviting team. I was really nervous about doing lives. They very much have helped me increase my reach and online presence. So thank you, Reviting.
I love what you and the team do. I've been picking up 50 followers a day just because that content is resonating so well. It's working across a lot of different channels for me.
One of the problems that we struggle with is getting our brand out there. And her team have been able to do for us is the idea of going live on LinkedIn and using that platform to its fullest extent through the way they're able to take the live event and break it down into bite-sized posts, video clips, as well as the content within the posts themselves.
This is Mike, also known as Clean with Mike on Twitter. Mike hired a virtual assistant from Cherry Assistant about 2 years ago. Now, he has a $50K per month business fully managed by a remote operator in South Africa. His VA from South Africa does the following: closing inbound leads on the phone, Yelp and Google and Facebook, manages his CRM and go high level, deals with rescheduling, cancellations, any issues, hires and manages the cleaners, and sends them daily reports and updates. Mike has a fully cash flowing business managed by a remote operator for only $8 an hour. You can also hire a US equivalent worker in the Philippines, South Africa, Latin America for a fraction of the cost with Cherry Assistant. Be like Mike and grow your business with offshore staff.
If you're listening on podcast, we're showing a menu of services on screen, and you can get a VA and they'll help with a lot of things. I suggest just reaching out to Cherry Assistant, and if you do, make sure you let them know you heard about them through WinsDay for $250 off your first month. But I am looking forward to getting into our third topic, which is, drumroll, how to go from overlooked to industry recognized. Chrissy, can you kick us off on this topic?
Yes, this is also one of my favorite topics because a lot of women come to us and they've built the authority. They've built the trust within their circle. And they're just like, oh, I'm stuck. I can't get out of the circle. That's what I call the authority visibility gap. So it's important to be able to bridge outside of your current organization and be able to be known by other people. So the way you do that, build a magnetic brand. So this is going to get a little bit woo, if you will. It's really just science, but I really focus on building aligned brands that are energetically aligned with your ideal audience, and then you're going to attract them. It is actual quantum science that you will attract the audience you want once you put that out there. And then secondly, it's also being visible with intention, not just getting visibility everywhere. I see that a lot from PR agencies that just try and go for any visibility whatsoever. And I say, okay, that's great that you're getting out there, but is it actually doing something? Is there an intention behind it? Are you actually telling the story through it, or are you just going on somewhere? And so you want to make sure that you are actually being intentional with that. An example of that would be, sometimes I have people tell me, oh, I just want to be on a podcast with 1 million listeners. Okay, well, one, you just cut down the amount of podcasts that you're going to be able to be on because there aren't as many of those. But though the viewers or listeners to that 1 million podcast might not be your ideal audience. So maybe it's one that only has 1,000 listeners, but they are 1,000 of the perfect audience for you. Those are two different audiences, and so being intentional about how you grow is important as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that we can manifest the audience of our dreams. Yes, please, let's do that.
I mean, I've seen it myself with our clients, and once we get it energetically aligned, literally they start getting calls from clients, or they start getting clients or start getting attention from the media reaching out to them. And I see that somebody has a question on how do you be intentional. That's knowing what your goal is, and then doing a work back. I'm
Yeah.
all about the work back. And so let's say, for example, one of our clients, we know that this is her conversion rate. Let's say it's 50%, and she needs to get 20 people, let's say. So that means, okay, she needs to have 40 conversations in order to get that 50% conversion rate to lead to the 20. Okay, now let's go look at the rest of the numbers and see what actual visual, brand awareness do we need to get? How many eyeballs need to see the brand in order for her to get those 40 conversations and then get those 20 conversions? So it's starting with your end goal and then doing a work back.
I love that. Yeah, working backwards. What's your take on all this, Champagne?
I'm just sitting here soaking it all up. I mean, I wish that I could jot down on my notebook, but I feel like it would be a little bit unprofessional. But I actually really love the work back thing, because for me, when I was trying to get in front of traditional media like TV and article contributions and things like that, I really had to work very hard on carving out a niche for my specific subject matter expertise. There were so many people out there that were speaking about women, but I had to figure out how I could be really unique in that. And so, I'm always learning, always growing, and I actually really love what you're covering, Chrissy. So honestly, I'm just sitting back, like taking it all in.
Yes. And as Kareen says, she needs to manifest that ICP. Yes. And Lauren's asking, is that a formula you use for the work back?
Yes, if you would have told me in high school that I would be using algebra as much as I do, I would say no way. But I use algebra a lot. And again, it always is the end result in mind, and then using the actual numbers. That's why I tell people all the time, if you don't know your numbers, you're not getting the full story. And yeah, I was actually having that conversation with somebody today. They didn't track any numbers. So we didn't know the website numbers. We didn't know if ads had been performing. We didn't know. I mean, there was really nothing being tracked, not even a spreadsheet put together yet. And I thought, okay, well, we're not going to be able to tell what's actually working unless we can see those numbers.
Yes. You got to show us the numbers. We like the data. I like to use high level because it spits out well, you can create an analytics report and it'll give you numbers on everything you're doing. So um, it's it's great because I don't have to think about sending reports to our clients. So we basically run an agency. So as long as we get them inclusive on our agency software, which is app.reveting.com, we've white labeled high level. Then, we're able to show them all of their website views, all of their email clicks, all of their social media analytics in one report. I love it. Numbers are huge in marketing. Everyone, we have to get those down. And I really struggle when I can't get all the data in one place, because it can be a struggle with some businesses who have all these siloed, machines they're using, platforms they're using. It can be a struggle, but you have to have the numbers. So yeah, I agree with you there, Chrissy. So let's wrap up this topic. And I guess, yeah, how would you wrap up this topic, Chrissy?
Well, I see Lauren's question there about how do you get to the number of eyeballs someone needs. And so that's where all the algebra is going to come into play. So for that one client, we ended up discovering, okay, because of the conversion rate on her landing page, that was causing, let's say it was a 1% conversion rate. Okay, so if it's a 1% conversion rate and she needs to book 40 of those calls, how many people have to go to the landing page in order for her to book those calls? And what's the conversion rate of the ad that are actually sending people to the landing page? And so, same with on the PR side. Okay, if you need 400,000 eyeballs, we've got to choose targets that are going to actually get you there. So that might be national media, it might be digital media, it might be television, radio, but it's very intentional on looking at how many eyeballs actually need to be reached before you can actually achieve realistic numbers. Because if you don't achieve realistic numbers, you can say, oh, I'd love to have 50 conversions this month. But if you're not getting that end number that's going to do that rollback to get you those conversions, then you're just going to be disappointed every month.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, thank you for wrapping us up on that and answering Lauren's question at the same time. But let's move into our final topic. Our final topic for tonight, founder-led growth has an expiration date. So funny that we're talking about this tonight, and I'm glad we are. And I did a little bit of research beforehand on this topic and found that there are a bunch of studies out there. And if you subscribe to the Reviting newsletter, you can go to reviting.com/newsletter to subscribe to it. I'm putting out sociological research, literature reviews where I go and I find evidence-based research supporting a lot of what we're talking about or looking at what we're talking about tonight, but then also like just what we do at Reviting with video and live streaming. But one of the reports did show there was statistical significance in this, that yes, the founder has a big deal and they can connect with people really easily. But for companies that are looking for a certain growth trajectory, the founder can only get you so far. And yeah, let's hear from you on this topic though, Shampaigne.
Yeah, so I am definitely that founder where my expiration date has come up. So basically, what that means is that, when we're thinking about personal branding and putting ourselves out there to be a subject matter expert or have an authority around a subject or within an industry, then that is something that's going to take you far. People have to know, like, and trust you first in order to really rally around what you're selling. Absolutely. And that was something that helped me go so far in the beginning of my business, because when you do start with $20, a lot of what I was doing was community building, relationship building, those kinds of things. But when you're wanting to scale something that lives beyond you, because honestly, when I think about my entrepreneurial journey, I'm looking for legacy. I'm looking for something that can live beyond myself. And so I always knew that if I was going to have a business that would be of legacy, it had to live outside of me. And that work started now by separating my personal brand from my corporate brand and understanding the different ways in which I needed to communicate about either or both at the same time in order for me to not only keep my authority as a founder, subject matter expert, so on and so forth, but also to, help to grow this budding brand by itself. Because yes, the business had been driven a lot by the personal brand and the notoriety that was given. But what happens truly when things like a board comes on board, when outside funding is happening, when there are people outside of your business that are asking like really important questions, especially when a brand is founder led. And so when we're thinking about sales and marketing, that is the time where we really need to be starting to think about, where can I delegate certain aspects of these things, so that truly, if you still want to be the face of the brand, that's all you have to be, instead of being the face, the salesperson, the marketeer, the closer, the everything and more.
Yes, exactly. The everything and more, because that's what we do. We wear all these hats as founders. What's your take on this, Chrissy?
Oh, I love this as well. This leads me back to, again, more personal branding. So I always say everyone in the company should have their own personal brand and look like experts at whatever it is they do, whether it's graphic design or you're the interior designer at a location. Everyone needs to have a strong personal brand. Because think about it, if you've got two companies that are identical, the founders are identical, maybe identical twins like mine. But then you've got one that everybody only knows that the founder is awesome. And then you've got this one over here where founder's awesome and everyone who works there is awesome and everyone knows it. You're going to go with that one because you know that no matter what happens to the founder, you're still going to get that awesome brand. So everyone needs a personal brand.
That is true. Everyone needs a personal brand. And we're talking about founder brand. And I just happen to have this book on my desk, Founder Brand by Gerhardt. Have either of you heard of it?
No, I haven't. I got to check that one out.
It is really good. I mean, it talks kind of more about like the storyline around the founder brand. And, also just the importance of, I see you nodding, Chrissy. Have you heard of it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, I always tell everyone, especially when you have a smaller brand, you are going to be the face of your brand. But even when there's a company, there's still going to need to be a face affiliated with it. And, we work a lot of times with founders of small businesses. And so that way we do the visibility for the founder and then the company itself, and they get to ride the coattails together. And then when it's time to separate, it's a little bit easier because the founder still has their strong brand as well as the company.
Yes, exactly. So good. I see Doug put in a question. He's saying, how do you market to women? So I guess this is kind of transitioning back to one of our other topics. How do you market to women by gaining citations and mentions in Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, etc.? Champagne?
Well, it's funny that you asked that question. I literally was just talking to a journalist yesterday about that. And especially when we think about the AI adoption gaps in women and how earlier, Chrissy, you were talking about how there's a trust recession. And I absolutely love that because there is definitely that when it comes to marketing into women and AI being so complicated, not only in the gap in adoption of AI, but also in the integration of AI into forms of entertainment, forms of regular everyday living. It may not be as beneficial to look towards citations and LLM SEO kind of practices when it comes to trying to market to women, as opposed to going towards those more traditional word of mouth is still king, going towards not influencers, but influential women in communities. I think that those women are the women that people need to be investing in right now. I like to call her the original influencer, the mom who was the head of the PTA and she knows everyone in her community and she's connected and very well versed, or the affluent housewife. All of these are the original influencers, and I think that we need to start applauding and investing in that woman again. And so when we think about marketing, I think that you should move away from online tactics and move more towards things like in-person community-based experiences, because what women are craving more than anything is they're craving authentic connection. And we say authentic, 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 but what that really means is they want a space to be themselves, and they want products that fit into that authentic life, products and services that help them not only maintain but gain the life that they want.
Yes. I'm just nodding and agreeing. It's so good. What's your thought on this, Chrissy?
I'm going to yes and that. So I agree that the in-person, people are craving the interaction again. They want the in-person. And like I mentioned at the very beginning, influencers are changing. We're not trusting these giant influencers as much as we're trusting Mary down the street or, Bob over there that I see every morning at my favorite breakfast spot, those types of things. But the and part is you can get those citations on the AI by earned media. and your own media as well. And that is going to go back to knowing your audience. What questions are they asking? What concerns do they have? What transformations are they looking for? What problems are they looking to solve? But knowing those things and then start talking about those things repeatedly is how you're going to get on AI and mentioned by AI. And specifically, start with choosing 3 to 5 core pillars that you want to address and say them ad nauseum. You're going to get tired of saying it, but the AI will actually go and look for the same phrase in multiple places before it trusts that you are actually the expert or the brand that they should recommend.
Yes, say it in nauseam. I appreciate that. You just have to say it over and over and over again in 1,000 different ways. And Doug said, WinsDay is the only community he needs. Well, Doug, you should join the WinsDay winners in WhatsApp. And anyone else who's interested, go ahead and send me a DM. We have a private little group in WinsDay of WinsDay fans, as well as past WinsDay guests and people who, we meet on LinkedIn or help on LinkedIn. And we'd love to have you all there. It's just a really fun group. We all support each other. And also for the ladies, we've got a women's wave group. Last couple of years, we've done a retreat each year, but we're women who are empowering each other to grow, and we're connected in a WhatsApp group as well. Would love to have you there. But yeah, you need a private link. So just send me a DM and I'd love to get you in there. But Matthew's saying this session is value packed. Love that, Matthew. I'm so glad that you're enjoying it. But any more on this topic before we transition on? I think actually this was our last topic. The founder-led growth has an expiration date. So I don't know. What's the actionable advice we can take away from this topic, Shampaigne?
I think the actionable advice is to build a personal brand and leverage that brand in multiple different ways. And not only for yourself in the advancement of your company, but that personal brand can be leveraged in ways that you need to be open to. So one of the things that I see a lot is that there may be a founder who is trying to get media for their company, and they're leading more with, oh, my company is so great and this is why you should cover us, as opposed to, hey, here's the problem that we're seeing, here's how our product is solving it, and here is our founder who's at the helm of it, doing research, making sure that they're a person that is advocating and being outspoken and trying to make a change outside of just the solution that they're providing for their company. So I would say build that personal brand, leverage it as much in as many ways as possible. And don't forget that just because you only have one business now, always think about how that brand, that personal brand, can be leveraged for another business later.
Yes.
I love that. I always say it's the personal brand here, and then anything you create is going to go under that as well and have its own life. So my actionable takeaway would be, if you do have a team, go ahead and encourage them to create their own personal brands. I know some companies get scared of their team looking too smart on social media or learning too much. And I'm thinking, don't you want your team to know a lot? I would rather my team be so smart and then leave and go start their own thing than for them to not be smart and stay with me. Yeah, so encourage your team to build a personal brand. And then I love what Shampaigne said. Think about the future as well. So build your personal brand so that you can go on and create other brands as well.
Yes, so good. Love all of this. Build a personal brand, 100%. I could talk about this all night because that's what we inevitably do here at Reveting, is build personal brands by going live on LinkedIn, repurposing it to podcast, short form video. It's all just a way of getting out more of you, the human. People connect with people, not brands. And so, if they can see you on video, they can join you on a live stream, talk with you from the comments, you become more real to your audience. So it's all about building a personal brand, but I digress. Let's get into our final little segment, the guru of the week. The guru of the week. Ooh, ooh. The guru of the week. Ooh. So we want to know, who's your guru of the week, Chrissy and Champaigne?
So I will kick it off with Brock. Okay. I don't remember his last name, but he is the founder of Frost Buddy, and he is not shooting for perfect LinkedIn posts. And you can tell that he actually is sharing what's in his heart or what is on his mind, and he's sharing the behind the scenes and just encouraging others to grow. I just think he's doing a great job. So shout out Frost Buddy.
Shout out Frost Buddy. I'll have to check him out. Someone tag him in the comments. And Champaigne, how about you?
I would have to say my dear friend Sabrina Beer. She is a social selling strategist in the real estate industry, and she has managed to make something that can be as sterile as possible so fun. I had no idea that attorneys and real estate agents could socially sell, and I think that she's a rock star in the marketing field, and she really gives so much value to her audience always. I would suggest checking her out on LinkedIn, subscribing to her LinkedIn newsletter. She's always dropping gems there.
I love that. What was her name again?
Sabrina Beer.
Sabrina Beer. I have to
Love
check
that.
her out. Thank you both so much for sharing those gurus. Okay, so now before we leave, we just want to know a little bit more about both of you. Who it is you serve, how you serve them, and if they could be served by you, how do they reach you? Chrissy?
So, like I mentioned earlier, we serve founders of small businesses so that way we can work with their personal brand as well as the company itself. The agency that I have is a brand architecture, marketing, and PR agency. And so we're rather comprehensive. And as you've heard me talk about, yes, and it's all the things. So, and they can reach us. I like to tease because I've done my publicity for such a long time that you can just Google me. But in all seriousness, Chrissy Bernal everywhere, ChrissyBernal.com, which my site is getting redone. I'm excited about. And yeah, I think I'm the only Chrissy Bernal on LinkedIn.
The only Chrissy Bernal on LinkedIn, and she's here on LinkedIn live with us here on WinsDay. We're honored to have both of you here. But Champaigne, tell us a little bit more about you, who it is you serve, how you serve them, and if we could be served by you, how do we reach you?
Yeah, so I serve two distinct kind of people. The first one is a woman who is busy. She has an entire life going on, but she has a burning passion to be an entrepreneur. And she is looking for a solution that fits around her lifestyle. BOLDIFI is an audio first micro school. And so all of our curriculum is accredited and it's delivered like a podcast. So it fits around your lifestyle. In addition to that, I am a women's consumer expert, and I do media commentary, consumer intelligence reports, all kinds of fun research stuff. And to learn more about me and BOLDIFI, you can find me here on LinkedIn as well as on my website, champaigngraves.com.
That is so cool. I love that you do that type of research. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your expertise with us here on WinsDay, both of you.
Thank you for
But
having
yeah,
me.
absolutely. Yeah. And again, thanks for being flexible, Chrissy, because you kind of swapped out last minute. So it all worked out. We got to talk about some women's empowerment stuff, some like money mindset stuff. This was a really great episode. I really appreciate it. But we will be back same time, same place here next week for anyone watching. We hope you can join. And otherwise, Chrissy and Champaigne, we will see you backstage. Everyone else, see you next week.